I don't. Well, the only really tough point was maybe like the weather was like the hardest obstacle, and like getting to that first midnight run, like we said. I mean, that had to be possibly the worst run of my life.
Hey folks, thanks very much for joining our Monday Mindshare and real treat today. We've got two of our friends and family and athletes with us, John and Jordan Schwartz. How you doing there?
We're good, Leighton. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great, and haven't had you on, Jordan, but thanks for joining Dad and keeping him honest on this race and today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
It's pretty fine and warm here in North Carolina. How is it where you guys are in the
So
part of the world?
it's a little gray here in Jersey. We're not too cold, but we're expecting 2 days of downpours, is what I understand. So a lot of trainer time, but definitely outdoor running. We don't care about the rain.
Cool. Am I going to jump into the big event that both of you did together, which I think is just awesome, and it's great to have a small part in it at SFuels. But maybe let's just step back a second, and John, and maybe you can just talk through the background so we can reset everyone on kind of where you're coming from. And then Jordan, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit about your sporting background and what got you into this ordeal with your dad.
All right.
Yeah. So I had 2 brain surgeries in the last 10 years, and I had done a self-supported Ironman back in 2021, and then completed Ironman Lake Placid in July of last year, actually on the 5-year anniversary of my second brain surgery, which was kind of cool. And after I finished, like any other endurance athlete, I guess, it's like, what next? And I was talking to a friend, and he said, you're kind of in trouble here. You've done 2 Ironmans 2 years in a row. It's hard to go out there and just say, okay, I'm going to do a half Ironman, or I'm going to do a half marathon, or even a marathon, I guess. And it's like, oh, ho hum, what now? And I had known about this Goggins challenge, this 4x4 by 48, where you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And I had known about it. It had been on my radar for a little bit, but obviously with Ironman training, it was back burner. And I said to myself, this would be kind of a cool thing to do as the next big thing. And I happened to be turning 50 this past March. And so Jordan, who is 14, I said to him, I said, what do you think? What if we did this like together? And it'd be a cool father-son bonding thing. And what was the first thing you said to me when I told you it was a 4x4 by 48?
Oh, I think I said, that's crazy.
It's crazy. But he also said, you're turning 50, right? So we shouldn't do 48 miles. We should really do 50, because apple doesn't fall far from the tree, apparently. So at that point, what's another 2 miles? So, we started back in, I guess, September, right?
September we started training.
Yeah, September. And, it was in the works, and, that's kind of how it came to be. It was just,
I'm talking to you guys because I'm doing my first marathon with my youngest son in July. So I'm going to grill you both on best practices and worst practices here today.
Yeah.
But Jordan, tell me a little bit about your sporting background. Were you a runner at all, or you're more a team sport guy, or what do you love?
So I'm a mix of both. I play club level soccer for the team sport aspect, and obviously that involves a lot of running in itself. But I also run with my dad and with friends just on my free time to stay in good shape and stay fit for soccer. And then on the side I played basketball, and now I'm currently doing track for my school.
Which session in the track are you shooting at? Is 800s or miles or 400s or?
Right now I'm doing the mile and the 800 meter.
Spends his part time with his Ironman running dad, so you won't have any spare time left after that.
No.
Well, cool. Good to have you both. And maybe why don't we just kind of step back to October, or when you started the training? What was the fitness levels there kicking off in October?
Yeah. So for me, I was just getting back into training. I'd reached out to my my tri coach, and he knew what we were doing, so he was fully on board with it. He had actually done this with another athlete of his who I had also kind of introduced to the whole idea of the 4x4x40 hit a couple of years ago. So there was some level of knowledge as to what he was getting himself into. And for Jordan, he was already, in the midst of fall soccer. He played middle school soccer and club soccer simultaneously. So for him, he's 14 years old. I'm jealous, of that just nonstop ability to go and go and go. There's no soreness. There's no creaky bones like 50-year-old dad, or at the time, 49-year-old dad. So yeah, it was definitely starting to build a base. But so we weren't starting from scratch. I had taken a couple of months off after Lake Placid, but it wasn't from scratch for me, at least. For Jordan, it was definitely, he was in a better position, I think, than I was, just because he was, playing soccer more.
There peculiarity to nuances of training you think you did for something like this? Because it's clearly just not a classic, knowing 10K, half marathon. It's not a Ironman triathlon. It's quite a nuanced format. But was there anything particular you guys did you felt was helpful?
Yeah, I think for me, my big thing was I had said to my coach from the start, I said, I don't want to be running 6 days a week. I said, I need to still do the swim, bike, and run so as not to lose my mind. So we kept that, for me, we kept that in there. And obviously Jordan with soccer practice 5 days a week for school and 2 or 3 days a week, right? For club.
Yeah.
He was running a lot during the week. So we were on a good pace. And then on the weekends, we would do a long run together. And, we broke it up. We never really ran, 6, 7, 8 miles at a clip. We would do, 2 4-milers or 3 4-milers in the beginning. And just to, we would build the volume that way. I don't know, in the beginning, I don't know that Jordan could have run, an 8 or a 10 miler right out of the gate. He was good with 3 or 4, no problem. So that's kind of where we stuck, right? Mainly we didn't do anything really crazy distance-wise, but we were doing multiple runs.
Jordan, have you ever worn a watch or anything that measures distance when you do your soccer training and everything? I'd be just kind of interested to understand how many miles you actually do in something like soccer training.
Yeah, so I've never worn a watch when I'm playing and practicing soccer, but I looked up how many miles does the average soccer player run in a game, and it said 6 to 8 miles. So considering that on my club team, I play for the whole game, I would like to go off that mark, but I've never really worn a watch to play soccer. I have worn a watch to when I ran a 5K, when I ran for speed, but that was the only time I wore my Garmin to measure distance or running or speed.
K time, you remember?
My times. So my fastest 5K time, I ran a 21-minute 5K with my dad's friend. Most recently, I ran a 24-minute 5K and placed second in my age group. And then I ran on Thanksgiving a 25-minute 5K.
And what about, so Jordan just ran, he's had his 2 track meets so far. And his first meet last Friday, what was your mile?
My first mile time was 5 minutes, 53 seconds.
Yeah, that'll keep Dad honest.
Yeah, exactly. Dad's lucky Dad's got fast friends to run with him.
The whole reason, Jordan, we all get into distance running is because we slow down on shorter running. That's the
exactly it.
Well, that's cool. It's the other aspect I wanted to talk to you both about is obviously the real kind of stretch on this is the 48-hour aspect to it, right? Is just just talk us through, is it consistent 4 hours? Meaning like, do you have an extended sleep time or no? It's like clockwork.
No, it's like clockwork. We started, Jordan went to school on that Friday, like it was a regular day. I picked him up at 3:15 like I always do. And we started at 4 p.m. right then and there. And then it was 4, 8, midnight, and so on through. And, what we did was, instead of doing an extra 2 miles at the end, we added a quarter of a mile to 8 of the runs to get to the 50. And, the first 2 were fine, right? The 4 and the 8 o'clock were fine. That first midnight run, it was about 37, 38 degrees here, and it was pouring, and it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. And we had done some training in the rain. We had done a couple of training weekends where we would do a 4 a.m. and an 8 a.m. and a noon and a 4 p.m. just to get us both to waking up and running and then going back. And, so we were good there. That first midnight run was probably the hardest to get him up for. Once we got going, he was fine. And then we had a friend run with us for that. And then the 4 a.m. was just the 2 of us. And it was still pouring, and it was still windy. It was quiet. And it was quiet and scary and a little bit scary. But it was really cool. I mean, my dad, who passed away 19 years ago, had a saying: when something was really good, he would call it the berries. Right. And my dad and I grew up playing golf with my dad, and I don't do that any longer. So Jordan and I have this. And as we were finishing the 4 o'clock, soaking wet, windswept streets, Jordan looks at me as we're coming to the house, and he looks at me and goes, "The berries." And I said, "I think Grandpa would disagree, but I understand what you're saying."
Yeah, it's hard to find friends at 4 a.m. in the morning when it's raining and windy, I find. Yeah, there's not too many friends around.
I will tell you this, though, Leighton. One of my closest friends who I did my first Ironman with, we were not expecting him at that first midnight run in the rain. And the route we were planning on running was more on main roads. We had cleared 3 loops, and he was genuinely concerned about it. So we walked out of the house in our Knox gear vest all lit up, and my friend Jerome was literally standing at the top of the driveway waiting for us to make sure that we were safe and we were good. So we had a lot of company for, the midnight and 4 a.m.s actually. So it was pretty cool.
Well, one of my friends came around with us.
What time did they join you guys?
4 p.m. Saturday. So it wasn't late, but it wasn't early, but he's still one of my best friends.
That's right. That's cool. They're good memories, huh? We have a run in Hong Kong when we were there called Moon Tracker. It would start at 11 p.m. at night at sea level. And then you would have to crest the highest peak in Hong Kong and the second highest peak in Hong Kong. And then you would come off the mountain, that's right, and get back to sea level by sunrise. It's called Moon Tracker. Now, we would hit like black tea at about 9 p.m. and keep drinking black tea till about, I'm thinking 12 a.m., I guess.
Wow.
Did you guys hit the coffee, tea, or some type of help through the night?
We actually didn't. I mean, it was interesting. So we had practiced the whole sleeping thing, and fortunately both of us sleep really well. So we managed to sleep between the 8 p.m. and midnight and 4. So the runs were taking us about 45 to 50 minutes each. And we would come back in the house. We would get right in bed. My wife said to me, "You guys are sleeping in the same bed together." She's like, "I don't want anyone waking me up." So we would go to bed from, so midnight, we would run till 12:50, be in bed by 1, and we would sleep until about 3:40, 3:45. So we were getting sleep, which, everyone said to me, kind of like when you have a baby, right? You sleep when you can, you don't sleep during the day. So we, slept at night. During the day, it was in recovery boots, massage guns, and eating. Nutrition was a big one to keep it topped off.
Well, yeah, that's a nuance because your race is just ongoing in a sense, where as opposed to it starts and it stops and you're done, you kind of had to get back into it every 4 hours. That's a good point. So I guess, caffeine, not a good idea if you want to kind of hit the sleep patterns to some degree, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think I use Prime. I mean, I use Prime when I work out on the weekends in the morning, but I don't even think I use Prime at all for that even. No, right? No, I don't think so.
For nutrition during the event itself, what was the typical kind of post-run routine? Maybe it's different between you both, by the way.
So it's funny you say that. So in training, right, I obviously have been low carb for almost 2 years now. So I know what I can eat and can't eat, right? And dealing with a 14-year-old, a little bit different. So we had trials and tribulations throughout. We kind of, we learned early on that fried chicken and Jordan's stomach do not do well, right? So that was out.
You learn quick, huh?
Very quick. Wendy's was not good for Jordan either. So, for me, I was really low carb the entire time. I mean, I had, deli nights and turkey. I had a lot of eggs. I had the Revival from SFuels. Depending on how I was feeling, I had that, yogurt, blueberries, so stuff that I would normally eat in a regular day, I guess. And for Jordan, we went bland, right? We went, right? That's what you ate the whole time, right?
For the whole duration of the event, what I ate was turkey sandwiches with mayo on a roll, a granola bar, and bananas. That was it.
Yeah. So, kept it pretty simple, and I don't think, there were no stomach issues, right?
No.
Certainly in ultra running, you see a lot more whole food consumption. It just makes sense because they just go for so long, these races. So, what's next for you two? You've ticked that box. You've ticked the 50 years old. Congratulations, John.
Thank you. For me, I have Ironman 70.3 Muscle Man in July, which I'm starting to get back into some kind of rhythm for. It's hard, like, when you have an A race and you're done and you kind of this letdown, right? So the 50 miler was, after we were done, it was just like, getting back into it. And I said to my coach the other day, I'm trying to just turn the boxes green again in Training Peaks to get back into some kind of consistent rhythm here, which I'm getting there. For Jordan, he's finishing up. What are you finishing up? Soccer
and track.
Right. So he's got a couple of more track meets, and then, he'll finish up the soccer season, and then Jordan goes away for the summer for camp.
And then high school soccer starts.
Yeah, and then he'll try it for high school soccer in the fall.
No appetite, Jordan, to think about half marathons, triathlons, any of that is interesting to you?
I would totally be open to doing a half marathon. I did a kids triathlon a few years ago. Didn't love it. I would say that I'm more of the running type kid. Definitely not triathlons, but maybe as I get older, I'll work my way into that category.
So that's cool. Yeah, as I said, I got my first one coming up with my son. How did you guys go? Was there kind of points in time? I've done some kind of relay races, meaning like we all run together for the whole race, but you really got to know the person beside you, because obviously your mental state is different at different points in these races. Were there some tough points here you guys had to kind of regroup?
Well, the only really tough point was maybe like the weather was like the hardest obstacle, and like getting to that first midnight run, like we said, that had to be possibly the worst run of my life from a mental standpoint. I remember taking off my shoe in the middle of the street to empty water out of it.
We were fortunate, though. I have a very supportive running community and triathlon community that, chose times to make sure we weren't alone. And we had people, like I said, other than the 4 a.m., that was the only one run we were alone for. And, we had people with us, and I have two very close friends who I did the, homegrown Ironman with, and they were with us the midnight run. So we call ourselves the Horsemen, right? The three Horsemen. And Jordan has always been the youngest horseman. And that midnight run was definitely the most entertaining, though, right? Yeah. There was a lot going on. We saw animals. We're not quite sure what they were. There was a lot of laughing, a lot of joking around. So it was pretty lighthearted. There was never, my knee got a little wonky on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and we went to a little more, walking, running, type process just to get through it. And then KT tape and whatever. But yeah, we didn't really, I think we enjoyed the time. It was really, everyone was asking me, I said, it was such a cool experience from a bonding standpoint, I think, as a father and son, right? And it made me realize, this is something that he'll be able to take with him for the rest of his life and attack things differently when there's adversity. And I think, for me, seeing that growth with him was kind of a great thing as a parent. And we also raised money for charity. We raised over $7,000 for pediatric oncology, which was, just a bonus, to add to the why of the whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, it was an experience.
Talk to you both, and thanks for joining our Monday Mindshare and sharing that experience with us. It just sounds brilliant. Basically, what you did for not just charity, but each other, right? As you said, it's a memory forever. It's just why we do these things. So great to chat, and we'll catch up soon. And thanks for going longer with the team, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Leighton. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.